All right, SPQR fans and Victorum gaming fans, we're back. We're covering another one of the generic missions, and today we're taking a look at Fall of Heroes. So, and as you can see here, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on. So both players have warbands of equal denarii. One player is the attacker, so again, as we've been saying, so certain special characters and talents and stuff like that may trigger off of who the attacker is, so keep that in mind. And again, decide randomly, or if it's a campaign, it'd be the player who made the challenge. And as you can see here, the attacker basically gets to deploy on every table edge. No matter what, though, they're basically at least 12 from the defender sort of inner deployment zone, that little box in the center there. So how is this going to be different than the previous couple missions? Well, let's take a look. So the defender must nominate one of his heroes to be the target of the attacking player. This must be the hero with the most experience points in the warband. If two or more are tied, you get to choose which one it is. The defender deploys all their models first, then the attacker deploys. Both players roll a dice, adding +1 for every hero in their warband. The winner takes the first phase. So, this is going to be a tough one because, again, the defender has to put all their cards on the table first, right? You're deploying all your models first, and it's not a great deployment zone. So, this is kind of like you are surrounded, and you're going to have to... you can't really get greedy with your deployment here. You kind of have to... plan for all four sides here. Now again, terrain might mitigate that a little bit, so if it's a little bit harder for the enemy to approach from one side, you might be a little bit more relaxed as far as how you're deploying facing that way. Yeah, this is definitely a tough one for the defender. The attacker then gets to see what the defender's done and then deploy accordingly, and really should try to maximize their deployment zone to their advantage. Even if the defender has a whole bunch of stuff facing one side, you having the run of every single table edge, you should try to make that as tough on the defender as possible. So while still kind of keeping a cohesive game plan here, you don't want to necessarily spread your own forces out too thinly, but coming at the opponent from every single side will definitely put some pressure on there. Now again, there is no facing in the game unless you perform a phalanx, but nonetheless, if you only, let's say, deployed on one side here, well, you're not really forcing the opponent, the defender, to really think. If you just deployed on one side, they're just going to reorganize their army to face you, and then it becomes a straight-up game, which, at that point, you've kind of wasted your advantage of being the attacker. So at least, you should take 2 or more of the table edges and put models on them just to, again, give the defender something to think about, if nothing else. So... And again, number of heroes will matter in this one, so that's a little bit of an interesting wrinkle compared to some of the other ones, and that gives you a little bit of a buff. That'll help you take the first turn. Now, if the defender can get the first turn, they might, see what the opponent did for deployment and try to move out and actually attack maybe the weakest side of the attacker and kind of get themselves into more of a position where they can maybe wipe out one or more of the attackers' sides that they're coming from, just to get back to fighting on fewer fronts, basically. No other special rules for the battle. So, and the way you win this one, as you can kind of guess from the nominating the hero thing earlier, maybe the attacking player will win if he can kill the nominated hero. If the hero leaves the table due to a failed will to fight check, the battle will be a draw. The defender will win if he can keep the hero alive for 10 full turns. So here, for the first time, you actually see a turn limit really placed on things. And having played this one a couple of times as the defender, actually, you definitely, depending on what your nominated hero is set up with too. So, if they're pretty survivable, you can maybe be a little bit more aggressive and, again, attack some of the weaker parts of the attacker's army to then make it more of a straight up fight. But if you have maybe not so tough hero, or they're more geared towards other things that aren't necessarily surviving, it's going to be a tougher game for you. So you definitely want to keep them out of sight and well surrounded with your own troops. You may or may not want to actually even attach them to a unit, but just putting them where they basically are going to be out of trouble for as long as possible. And, if it looks like you might be losing, but you've spotted an avenue where you might be able to get your hero off the board, you might consider that option too. So again, it can only be via like a failed will to fight check. But if you're already pretty much in that position, certainly being able to get off the board that way can spoil the opponent's plans there. But yeah, overall pretty rough. So it doesn't matter again who kills what on either side. It's really just all about killing that one hero. So if you're the attacker and you've managed to basically encircle the defender and make it tough for them to break out, certainly whittling the numbers down to where like will to fight starts coming into play and stuff like that. Or if you find a way to basically have a unit or two or even a hero or something who might be kind of like sent in to assassinate the defending hero, there's all kinds of things that can go on here. So, and if you're the attacker, having like a hero that is geared with like ranged combat who's good at something like a bow or sling or something like that, and we've again covered the talents in other videos, if you can set up a couple of like sniper heroes to where you spot the defending hero and you start plinking them off there, you could potentially win the game like that. So again, there's lots of neat little things and definitely puts a lot of pressure on the defending player. Now, of course, one of the greatest things is if you as the defender are able to sort of outwit and outplay the attacker and turn the tables on them, then, it's just the greatest thing. So, and again, here, despite what they're showing on the actual map here, so certainly this wouldn't, if you wanted to play this without really much of any terrain, certainly that's a hell of a challenge, but a little bit of terrain here and there definitely should be out there just to, make it a little bit tougher for the attacker, make it just a little bit slower to get to the defender's deployment zone and give the defender a little bit more of an opportunity here. But overall, pretty neat mission. Definitely could probably use a couple of tweaks here if it were like tournament play or something like that. But overall, another pretty neat mission. So this one, again, is Fall of Heroes.